All right, so today we're going to deep dive into some projections about international travel to the U.S., and it's looking like a pretty big shift downwards this year, which is kind of surprising, right? We've got some analysis from Tourism Economics, and then we've got some statements from Air Canada and the U.S. Travel Association as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a story worth looking into.
I'm sure.
To try and understand why this is happening.
Yeah. So let's break it down. What is it that's causing this big drop? Like, what are the reasons behind it?
So, I mean, at the beginning of the year, Tourism Economics, they forecasted a 9% increase in international visitors,
Wow.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
And now, just a few months later, they're predicting a 9.4%
Wow.
decrease.
That's a swing.
Huge swing.
Yeah.
A huge swing in just a couple of months.
What's causing that?
Well, the president of Tourism Economics, Adam Sachs, he points to the Trump administration's policies and rhetoric.
Oh, interesting.
Specifically tariffs, the approach towards Canada and Greenland, and even the exchange with Ukraine's President Zelensky.
Wow.
So, these things coupled with what we've been hearing about European tourists having some difficulties at the border
Yeah.
seems to be like really dampening international travel sentiment.
So it sounds like a bunch of different actions and signals are all kind of converging into this one impact.
Yeah.
And Sachs actually called it unforced error after unforced error.
Yeah, he did.
That's pretty strong language.
Yeah.
So what does that look like on the ground, though? Like, how does that actually play out?
Well, just take Canada as an example. Initially, travel from Canada was probably a big part of that initial optimistic forecast, right?
Right.
And now they're anticipating a 20% drop.
20%.
20%.
Wow.
The U.S. Travel Association, they had already warned that even a 10% decrease could lead to 2 million fewer visits from Canada and billions of dollars in lost spending.
Wow.
So a 20% drop.
Yeah, that's going to have a huge impact.
Huge.
Especially on border states.
Yeah, definitely New York, Michigan, and then also, big destinations like California, Nevada, Florida, they're all going to feel that.
So we're not just talking projections here, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is actually happening.
No, this is already happening. Air Canada has reported a 10% decline in bookings to the U.S.
Wow.
for April to September compared to last year.
So people are already changing their plans.
Yeah, they're already changing their plans. So it's not just, a future thing. This is happening right now. And the knock-on effects are going to be felt by airlines, hotels, national parks, anywhere that relies on tourist dollars.
So looking beyond those sectors, what's the bigger economic picture here?
Well, Tourism Economics estimates a $9 billion reduction in spending.
$9 billion.
$9 billion by foreign visitors this year compared to 2024, which actually saw a strong growth in international tourism.
Right.
And what's interesting is what Adam Sachs points out is the irony of tariffs. So they were intended to help the trade balance, right? But it seems like they might actually be discouraging international travel. Oh, wow.
Leading to a larger trade deficit because of reduced tourism spending.
So how does all this impact the long-term recovery of international travel?
Well, the expectation was that things would get back to pre-pandemic 2019 levels,
Right.
eventually. But that's been pushed back to 2029 now.
So that's a much longer recovery.
Yeah, a much longer recovery.
So just to kind of sum up everything we've been talking about, we're facing a pretty big drop in international travel to the U.S. this year, and it seems like it's driven by a bunch of policy decisions and these issues at the border.
Yeah.
And all of that is going to have a big impact economically on all these different sectors and regions, and it might even be undermining the effects of the policies that were intended to help.
Right.
And on top of that, it's delaying the recovery of the tourism sector. It really is fascinating to think about how connected everything is.
Yeah.
And how these policy decisions that might seem unrelated can have these huge ripple effects.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes you think about what other unexpected consequences could come out of all this.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, it's affecting everything from local communities to national economic forecasts. It's
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It really makes you think.
It does.
About, just how interconnected the world really is. So much to think about.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
That's for sure.
For sure.